The internet is broken. Business models and site design are entirely geared toward advertising and not the reader. On today's internet, advertisements are distracting, invasive, and overwhelming. In Den, the primary objective is quality content. Instead of ads, you may occasionally see a boosted post where a user has risked value to increase its visibility. Just like any other post, you can upvote or downvote to help evaluate the relevance to your community. The more engagement a boosted post gets, the less the booster pays. Depending on the evaluation process, a booster can get up to 85% of their money back, if the post is well targeted and engaging. In Den, quality content is the primary objective.
Hello, and welcome to the DENDAO weekly governance call, April 7th, Miami edition. I'm coming to you mobile, so apologies if there's any connection issues. I didn't climb the tree to get good reception. Joe's with us. Joe Dragon, how you doing today? How's the week been for you?
Good, good. That's the first time I noticed.
Okay. Oh, you
Be
do
careful. That sounds like a predator. Let's see here. That I did not notice in that ad, the Den ad, that Tenacious Dragon downvoted Eternal Mickey's post. I never noticed that before.
Oh man, that's. I don't know how we let that through.
Drama. I don't know. That's some drama going there. That's cool.
So yeah, man, lots going on this week. It's been really neat down here, and I've been wearing the hat and talking about Den, and was talking even accidentally this morning. I tried to go to breakfast this morning, but it was full of people talking about crypto, and so like I swung by and ended up getting some free juice and stuff, and talking to a guy from Japan about the Den layer, and because we have a Japanese layer, he was interested to see that we had that community represented. He liked that, so he'll be checking that out. Basically, that's what I'm doing. I'm just kind of like seeing what's new on the streets, and I'm learning some interesting things at Narratopia right now. And awesome. Yeah, and then multitasking from the tree here.
Right. No, speaking of the breakfast, I remember I went once with my grandparents as a little kid, and they sat us in this area, and a few tables away was some like a meeting, right? And so I learned a ton about how oil drills work.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh, that's interesting, right? But it's so strange anyway.
Yeah, educational brunch or something. Yeah.
Yeah, accidental. So you imagine crypto. You imagine some kid just being in there. I was like, oh,
I know, right?
Crypto, Dad.
Yeah, absorbing all of this. Yeah, there's a lot of young people. I saw a couple of people with their kids, so that's good.
Really good.
And there's a lot of young people that this is the last year I've seen hands go up. I've seen the question at the conferences, this is their first year in crypto or their second year in crypto, and you see the demographics, and it's like, oh wow, there is an influx right now, isn't there? Holy shit, cool.
It's good. It's
anyway,
crazy.
yeah, I'm getting intel on that.
Yeah.
So what do we have on the agenda today? What's on our governance call agenda?
Okay, so I am not sharing it. I should have been pulling up share. So let me grab it. I have fine. Top of the agenda. Let's see here. Well, I guess give some updates on the auto ban issues. I don't know if you want to talk about it or if I should talk about it. I haven't posted what I was going to post yet because I've not had time. But
yeah, no, we can talk about that for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Essentially, we're looking to adjust the algorithm to improve the performance of it because it's a little harsh, and some people have mentioned that. So we've looked at it and like, okay. For one thing, we can adjust the threshold as it is right now to help. Use reputation systems. It's a little more smooth. It's less drastic, right? It's not like, okay, you put one more and you're banned. So
yeah, what I think one thing that we can improve really that's related to that, that's outside of that, is we got to make it easier for like actions to be understood. I think there's a lot of room for me to make tutorials that I haven't made yet and things like that. But yes. I know we talked a little bit before about what kind of things that we brought up already about as far as changing or updating the algorithm or adding more capabilities to it? Are we talking about things like maybe a soft ban at first, or like are there any ideas to do? Obviously, there's a lot of interest in improving that. So where's the low hanging fruit there? I guess where's the iteration? I guess is what I'm asking.
So the first are just a couple of you can still see me, right? Because I shared a tab, and now my browser's frozen.
Oh, okay. No, you're good.
So we'll just keep going. And essentially that man, looks like I'm totally dead. I can't adjust anything. But anyway, essentially we're talking about first of all, a couple of manual steps to kind of get things configured in a way that will have less drastic effect.
Oh, okay. I guess he wasn't as all right as he thought he was. So I think what Joe was while he's rebooting, I guess on that end, and maybe I should ping him to let him know that he's not on anymore. But I think what Joe was going to go in to start talking about, we've talked a little bit about making it not as drastic or as like a binary action immediately, or that there's at least some chance to notify a person if they're approaching at least like, hey, here's how the banning feature works, and here's you're coming up on your however many whatever the threshold is set to per layer, because it is depending on what each layer decides it wants the threshold to be. Some kind of notification in there, and that notification I think could be maybe include a little bit of a message on how it works. You could say like, hey, watch out, this is getting negative reviews from the community. By the way, here's why that matters. I know a lot of times like just not knowing that system even exists has been a problem. I know like I remember one denizen was basically advertising their layer and all the other different layers, but it was very off topic and it wasn't really fitting into the conversations. So they found out really quickly that the more people vote them down, their reputation starts to interfere with their ability to post in the layer, basically. And so the reputation systems and the banding features being different systems is maybe confusing. Hey, Joe. Welcome back.
I'm back. Sorry.
I was just saying, I think that, one different points of confusion where we could maybe help with like a message that pops up and says, hey, here's what's going on and why, or maybe you're approaching the threshold.
Yeah.
And in case you don't know, there's a ban feature. And then just the fact that the reputation system and the ban system and the block system that's different systems. So like you might confuse the two, where like I can see confusion where if your reputation goes down and you lose the ability to reply or vote or post or some granular activity, you might think, oh wow, am I banned from here, or is my reputation too? What's going on?
Yeah. We realized something that we hadn't thought about much until we turned on the payout reports, that all of the behaviors that we are trying to incentivize or disincentivize necessarily need some level, and ideally the best communication possible for people to understand. I did XYZ and my rewards went down, or I did ABC and my rewards went up. And if you don't know that, then you just see, oh, my rewards went up. Why? And you'd have to ascertain why it happened on your own. And it's much better if the system can tell you this post, which you may, right now it does it at the post level, or the content level, the reply and the post level, to tell you how much you are rewarded based upon that. We don't have, in my opinion, a fully built out reporting mechanism on things like the eval. You need to know, hey, I voted that post up and I was first in line to do it in the first hour, and I voted up a lot, and therefore I got to matter, right?
Like to be able to drill into those payout reports and not only just see that you did get this amount of payout for that post, but also why, like the interaction.
Consensus.
That's really cool, because it's one more thing that you could expand and really just see the guts, how it works.
Yep.
And that's a learning with as much of a learning curve as there actually is in a system like this.
Yep, and probably it would be private to you that those reputation-based algorithms need to be reporting the same thing. That you could go to your profile and you could at least look at my site-wide reputation went up by 3%, and my layer reputation in this one layer went down by 15%, but up by 5 over here, or whatever else. That those are the types of things that I think are probably necessary. Also to tell you, hey, your reputation dropped below 4 stars, and therefore you can't vote or reply in that layer anymore. That type of thing. Which right now, you know, it's just kind of like, oh, I'm surprised when that happens.
Like if this were any other platform, I would almost expect to see that as a notification mixed in with other notifications. Kind of thing. Like this event happened. You know, kind of like someone liked your post or whatever it was.
Right. Right. And that'll come. That it's just you know.
When
this is, you have to think about it. People sometimes might think, well, you know, why? And I don't think generally people do. We have trolls that do, of course, but we're building all of these capabilities from scratch that no one else has ever done. It's the equivalent of rolling together a full AI or something for a social media platform, when, you know, the equivalent competitor to that is Google or Twitter doing things like that with billions of dollars to spare. And so, you know, we don't have billions of dollars, and this is, no one's ever built anything like what we're building here. So it is something to note, and nobody really thinks about this much. I don't even think about it until I'm talking to, like, say, Jeffrey from Sticky DAO. You know, and they're dealing with, and we have another project that, you know, part of the consideration is, oh, you guys need a Discord. And when I think about it, I was like, oh, shoot, to have a Discord and to maintain whatever moderation and an admin that you need, you know, it's not necessarily that it costs a ton, but it does cost something. But
sure, you're paying moderators, you're paying people to work, to show up to work and make sure that your community is maintained and it's healthy and kind of thing. And we're trying to, you know, let the community do that themselves.
And so far it works. I mean, again, we have some occasion of drama or personality conflict.
What I do want to say though is I think that it is some of that negative feedback I've found important points in, like for example, I think that it's fine in the beginning and even right now, but we're quickly approaching the point where it's no longer enough to say, hey, just go read the white paper, it's all in there, or something like that. Right? Because in the early stages, it's like, okay, look, we're not even done building this yet. Give me a minute, and then we'll like explain everything. But now we're onboarding DAOs, we're bringing like communities in, and so it's worth. And this could be probably something that we put on the priorities list when we have the DAO vote on that. Is like maybe reprioritizing spending some solid time on. I don't even know what you would call that, right? The removing friction from the onboarding process somehow, to where people get it easier, or at least maybe don't feel as intimidated. I've seen some of that feedback as well.
There is something too to be said, and you know, I'm maybe not the best to explain this or anything else, but that in anything like this, because it is a DAO, the process is very transparent. So, you know, as the algorithms change, they don't change unless there's a DAO vote. And when we get into those DAO votes, people will say, this is all too complicated. A normal user would never want to deal with Den. And it's BS, in my opinion, because a normal user would not be participating in the DAO at that level. A normal user will come in and they'll read posts, and they might make some replies. That's what they do.
Yeah, this is why I like to always just tell people, I like to talk to gamers and tell them to say, like, this is a video game. DAO membership is end game. You're at level 1. You got to level up, bro. You got to go through a learning curve. You got to figure out how the systems work. You got to get your gear. You got to get your matter. You got to get your lot and your lore. And this comes throughout the gameplay. And then once you level up enough, you're part of the DAO, and then you're in the end game. And end game is you're operating the DAO, you're operating the damn platform.
You're changing the rules.
Exactly, and it takes time, but that's the way that's the progression, and it's a free to play, free to earn game in that sense, in that analogy, I guess. And so I've started doing that in the same way I used to teach people about electronics by telling them to imagine water through a pipe, about how like current flows through wires and resistors and all that, and capacitors. It's like, no, these are just, these are valves, and it's a pipe, and this is a expansion tank, and this is a smaller point, yada yada. So anything like that, like anybody who has a way to frame how this whole thing works in an elevator pitch, I'm always interested in different analogies and different ways of thinking about it. I forget what movie it was, but there's a line in a movie I always remembered. And a guy said, I can teach anybody anything. He said, I can teach Japanese to a monkey if you give me something to relate it to. I was like, you know what? Actually, that's key. If you got something to relate it to, it makes it a lot easier.
Yes. And still see here. So we expect, and I've intended to have written this up already. Apologies, I haven't, but we expect to have some adjustments made, and they'll be in the individual layer DAOs to the autoban threshold. We would expect to at least have a discussion initiated in DENDAO itself on, what other points could be considered to improve the auto banning algorithm. And
I like the idea of like, something like putting in an oops, like first time offender kind of thing, just to give a notification that this is, that's something we can talk about. If there's reasons not to do that, if it's down to like, maybe that's configurable, whether it's an LCP or a business layer, all those things, like the different types of layers. If it's even a custom DAO layer, that's even a special type.
Here's what I'm in favor of, rather than trying to make it complex, and because every situation is going to be different. Is to put it to the DAO that there is no, which by the way, as an example, we have Nguma, Braino, I think maybe Coinier, or there's someone that I recognize the name, but I couldn't find it immediately to remember who it was that asked, hey, I was banned too, what about me getting back in? We need a configuration governance issue that would allow the layer community itself to say, user Denizen A has convinced me that they've turned over a new leaf and we should let them back in, because sometimes it might be, hey, I was just looking at it wrong. If I come back in, really, I won't be as negative, or I won't be as annoying to people, or as aggressive, or whatever, right? And there are some people that I was like, if let's just say even some of the current people, if they would actively say that, I would support them coming back in. But that's the problem. Most of them that I've seen so far have said, I didn't do anything wrong and you guys banned me for no. It's like, dude, it's a part of the algorithm. I did not personally ban you, right? So that would be what I would.
I agree with that. Yeah. That would just take, especially when we're, like I said, scaling up the number of communities, then it's just going to be an overhead issue for DENDAO at some point, where we need that, that at some point we're going to have that ability anyway.
Yeah.
And if it's becoming an issue now, maybe that just means, well, maybe it's more important now. Maybe that's a signal, So that could be, that actually could be, now that I think about it, that could be enough. I also don't want to do too much at once. Like when I'm troubleshooting a system, I almost never change more than one thing at a time to see if it fixes the problem.
Right.
Because then I don't know what I changed that actually did fix it, and if one of the things I changed was unnecessary, or maybe come back to haunt me in the future, because if I hadn't changed, it would have been better off.
Right.
So maybe if we do like one thing at a time, and that be the thing, is like let communities handle that themselves. That could be enough to.
And
okay.
You know what it would? The other thing that I'll imagine as the in between, and it's still DAO function, would be that we could put out a MISC vote, since there's not a config GI that we could put in place to bring these people back in. So for each one of them to say, okay, should Nguma be allowed back in? Nguma is also hereby invited to tell us if he will act differently or not. He or she will act differently or not, right? And they don't have to, but that will weigh on how people vote, I imagine, right? And the same for all of them, right?
You know what that would be useful for is, like, there's been, with that case and specifically, I think there's been conversations in different parts of Den, like in different layers even. So it's hard to even like track what all the different arguments are in one place.
Yeah.
So that, and there has been, like there has been in the past, but I think there should be another one too, just because like that was during some hoopla, I believe.
Yeah.
And now that it's cooled off a little bit. But yeah, that needs to be, we can do it with a MISC GI, and we can do, we can talk about, maybe we should, is that in the priorities list whenever we vote again?
It will be.
I don't think it is. Yeah.
It will be. That
sure
one,
that's in there.
The auto ban and the config GI.
The config like
and
layer DAO unban feature.
I don't know if those should be. Those should probably be in the same priority bullet, right? The same thing. We do both those.
Feature set.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Yeah, and by the way, I mean, one of those layers is a private layer, so theoretically, you know, the company vote is far more than any of the individuals in the Dragon Chain layer. So effectively, if the company wants to, they could vote, you know, and yes, I would have control over that vote, right? And in this case, I think we would probably say the JoJo account won't vote on this. So we want to know from all the people in the community, you know, should we go ahead and let this person back in? You know, and I think they will. And to keep it simple, but you know, please tell us if you're going to react, if you're going to act differently, right? So
like I said, I've said this, you know, I've said this on Den plenty of times, and I'll say it, you know, with my voice now. Is I got no problem with the person that got banned from Dragon Chain layer. It's just that, like, I have so many things that I have to look at. I got so many windows open, and I'm keeping track of what's going on because I want to make sure I try to have an eye on things. And at a certain point, it just becomes, it's not personal. It's just like it's just not good for the layer, I guess. Yeah. It's not, you know, and it's just a personal thing. Like, okay, I don't want to see that. It's not helpful. But then if enough people do that, you get banned. And I'm sorry that happened.
Yeah. And for me, I mean, I'm head of Dragon Chain. So, and on Den or Dragon Chain, I welcome questions. I want to explain to people the vision, where we are at, you know, the drawbacks to certain things, anything that might have been a mistake that we should correct, that we didn't account for, you know, tons of that, right? The issue has always been, look, I'm very busy, and oftentimes when someone misunderstands, or sometimes, and there's some people, and I don't think Nguma is one of them, by the way.
I don't mean to be picking on one person here, not at all.
Yeah, no, but that there are some people out there that will intentionally misrepresent the truth or what we've said in the past in such subtle ways that people who then, you know, it's going to be on the blockchain. So in the future, somebody's reading this. So it's so annoying to me, because when they're aggressively doing something like that, you know, I have to answer to make sure that you correct the record and set it straight and say, no, this is the truth and this is why. And, you know, sometimes I'm a human. So sometimes I get pissed off and frustrated when people, you know, aren't listening to that response. And then they just keep going with the same negative stuff that's not true. So, you know, it's a weird thing.
That's the main thing that I've seen denizens get blocked for. Which, by the way, are we still talking about changing the wording there from block and ban to something more descriptive of what it is, or anyway, or and maybe less negative too, you know, like mute.
I don't care about negative. I think some of that's helpful. To be honest, like if you know that there's a ban hammer, because there really is, it should be honest. Yes, you could get banned.
I guess so. Right? That is part of transparency, is just being honest about, you know, it is what it is. Yeah. Okay.
It's cool.
What to think about.
So we do have, I guess, one other update we could bring up that isn't on the agenda is, what is it? It's about a week away. It's about a week away is the Sticky DAO launch.
Yeah.
Which is at least the first external project that will be coming to Den to do its full DAO interface. All their discussions, all their votes will be in Den. They're going to reward members of their DAO for their engagement, the number of times they vote. So it's essentially incentivizing. And I think, if I understand correctly, it has something to do with whether or not their NFT will evolve or something will be based upon this engagement. So it was like, that's an
interesting one.
Very cool.
Fantastic. That's cool. Because the incentives to vote, there was a talk about that yesterday, I think, that I saw, and it was talking about incentivized voting and getting people to even just participate in DAOs in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And DAOs are hot. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Kind of felt some inkling of this end of last year. Like, this seems like it's going to be the thing next year. And sure enough, there's, like last year, there were planes flying in the sky, and, in Miami in April, they were, launching shitcoins. That was the big thing. And now the planes are flying banners that say, sign up, here's a DAO service, sign up for a DAO, make a DAO, change the world. And so it's very much the theme is DAOs.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Prediction true. That was alpha.
Yep. And we have two others. There's one more that they're working on a couple of modeling decisions, and we're checking some integration questions to see how much it'll cost. But we're pretty sure that they will come in. We're going to do everything we can to get them in. And then we have another one that's we don't have the date for it yet, but it's probably in summer that will come in. That will be probably one of the more advanced DAOs, kind of like DENDAO is a really really advanced model. So
the governance system is really interesting. That's for sure. It's one of Bezos's trucks. Sorry.
Oh man.
Cool. It sounds like a bird or something dying, doesn't it?
Is it not? That's what it sounds like.
No, it's an Amazon truck. That's the backup alarm. It was literally.
Really?
Yeah. Oh man, that's the sound they chose. No, that's the sound that they chose as the. I guess that's less atrocious than the beep beep sound.
Maybe. You think they choose a different, like a pretty sounding bird or something?
They did. They obviously did not crowdsource with a DAO decision-making process.
Maybe that is more appropriate, because it would be something you're like, or if it was something that would scare the crap out of you, maybe it'd be
something demonic.
Jeez.
Pay attention to.
Bezos talking himself.
Yeah.
Anyway,
all right.
Anyway,
so where are we here? Sorry.
That's
we
the
have
agenda.
Layer LCP process. You can propose a layer right now.
Yes, let's go there.
So that's a thing. I saw some of the proposals, read through a few of them yesterday, but I don't think we got through all. I think there's some more since then. So let's see what's up there.
All right.
Or what's kind of.
So let's go to unique voter first. And by the way, that came up today. Someone asked the question, what if we have two tied unique voter counts, or two or three or four all tied? If I remember correctly, that anytime we had a unique voter count winner, that we had said way back at the beginning, because we thought about this, that if you have a tie, the tiebreaker is the lore committed to each. So that's probably how this would work.
I don't know if I remember that vaguely, or if I'm just tricking myself into thinking that I did, but I'm sure it's on chain.
Somewhere. Yep, it's somewhere. Okay, so collectibles is 10 above everything else, and 20 something above, 28 above the third. So collectibles looks like it's in good standing there, right? Shoot, see, I'm exposing my numbers here. Oh, brother.
Oh boy.
Well,
hey,
whatever.
There you go.
Okay, on the lore side, the funny thing is it's number 8 and number 13, right? So all wrestling entertainment.
I mean, everybody can kind of see how much people own by, you can't really, but it is in descending order when you list out the owners on the different
Well, and
layers.
when you vote, you can. When you vote, I think
well, you can
I think
see.
the votes are clearly, I'm pretty sure. It shows the number of lot. Here, let's look, actually. Let's look real quick. I will look at a historical layer GI. Let's look in collectibles.
Because, you can see who voted. Does it show how much the weight they have?
Yeah, he voted 1,000. So in the end, it is all pretty transparent. So
transparency is great.
It's just it could clue some people in.
The Monero conference right now, but transparency is great.
Yes. It could clue some people in though on where I positioned stuff, right?
Yeah.
GNU Linux, obviously, I'm a huge fan of GNU Linux, right? I'm hoping that gets there soon.
That'd be great.
Let's see here. All wrestling. My great grandmother was a huge wrestling fan. She would not accept it was not real.
I had an aunt who was like that, who would babysit me, so I'd have to watch wrestling.
Yes, and so in the late 80s, I watched it a lot with my cousins. It was fun to watch anyway, right? So, and I had friends.
I got excited when the Undertaker came out. That was always a big deal.
The Ultimate Warrior. Were you there in the era of the Hulk?
I don't think so. No,
I was
post Hulk. Well, I was a kid when I remember Hulk being like on advertisements on TV, on commercials and stuff. With like his yellow shorts or whatever they were.
Ah, yeah. Well, I remember
and then
who just passed away, right?
Did the Slim Jim thing.
Yeah. Who was that? That was Who was Slim Jim?
Oh, Macho Man Randy Savage.
Thank you. Yes, snap into a Slim, and he passed away.
I didn't know that.
Years ago, right? Anyway,
I did know that.
There were some pretty good memes about that too. Okay, so anyway, all wrestling entertainment.
Memes about me when I die too. I'll put that out there for the record. I want memes and a pizza party.
So it's funny. So here's and by the way, we'll go to the number 13 too, because this month, number 8 and number 13 will be created on purpose, very oddly, but that means that although this one, eroticism, could not be created yet because we don't have the smart contract in place to handle a few things that we need. And that is on the priorities list. So if we get that in, we could, that could all happen. But this would have to be reduced, or GNU Linux would have to be reduced to be made for free. Or bag holders could add another 130 something thousand, right? And I have a ton of bag holders because I would plan to make that fun. Anyway,
I like how this is like a deep cuts, like as far as like into the stack of layers instead of just saying whoever pumps theirs to the top wins.
Yep. And look at this one. I mean, this is everything tattoos could easily move up. Preppers could easily move down.
Tattoos would be really popular. Man, that'd be cool to get a tattoo shop involved with that layer.
Yeah.
Like with the artists in there and stuff.
And then
official NFTs for Den tattoos.
The fact that from contest down to mining would be available. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, down to Den's Got Talent would be possible for runners up. And then if we look also, I guess, what was it? Is it 8? I think it's 8.
8.
So anything from marketplace, DeFi, 3D could be, it'd be a 2,500 matter pay, but like this book club. I do not have enough of book club that if somebody said, "Hey, I'm going to make book club," I would be upset. So I need to put more lore into book club. Look, I'm good on theme parks.
Just in case somebody goes in and says, "Okay, you know what? I want to take charge and I want to lead the community. I want to be the book club denizen. I'm going to pay for this to be created, and then we will make book clubs great again."
Yep.
And then you didn't go in there and have more than 4%. And you're like, "Shit, I should have known."
Yeah. I'm going to add more. I will add more. I'm going to go and review after, and in the commitment phase and make sure I get.
I like how that makes you look a little bit further down the line and think about like.
That's the point. Yeah.
Just that the ability is there. I like that it's expensive too, because it's not.
Yeah.
Like there should be friction to that.
Yep.
Like
and it's matter only. Yep.
Matter only, and the main system is still LCP. The main system is still free, basically, if you account for farming and stuff,
And something that is ever more apparent as we're working with these outside groups, especially with the DAOs, is that the vision and intent since the beginning was to have any of the layers that are created directly by businesses for DAOs or any other projects will have an initial cost, will have to bring their own lore. And by the way, what we're looking at is the initial cost is priced in Ethereum, in ETH, or in Matter. And the Matter comes at a discount. So you get a pretty good discount if you're paying in Matter. So if somebody who's actively involved in a system has a better foot in the door.
I think that's going to be a popular option that way.
Yeah, it's gonna be
if you're, because honestly, like if I were coming to Den as a business to set that up and I saw a steep discount if I paid in
I'd go buy it.
Matter, I would go out there and I would acquire that token. Because it's cheaper for me as a business to do it that way. It would, that kind of thing.
And it supports the entire infrastructure, the entire ecosystem. But the part that we're not doing yet, that we do know we're going to do, is that any layer created outside of the LCP process will have an ongoing charge in lore. I don't know if it'll be daily, weekly, monthly. We don't know. But essentially, that the creator of that will have to assume that they're going to be paying a reasonable amount of lore every month, unless it's an extremely active layer that at a certain point, at a certain threshold of activity, when it's, and it might be by layer rank, it might be by Matter production. We don't know yet. That's part of the reason we don't have it yet, is we have to kind of look at numbers and propose something to the DAO. But essentially that you will go from paying something like $30, $50, or $100 a month at the max level, all the way down to zero if it's a very active layer. Because the more active it is, the more helpful it is generally to the entire ecosystem. And any layer created through the LCP, including the runners up, won't ever pay that fee. Right. So that's the other cool thing about it. But anyway.
And then I know there's at least been some minor discussion on just identifying which layers are LCP layers, maybe.
Yeah.
So like I don't think we have to. I don't think we need to identify what type of business layer, like what tier each one is, or whatever. Yeah. But we could just identify one type of layer, which is the special LCP layer. Yeah. Because that's the one that has different rules on the supply cap and all that too. So.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Yep.
That way, at least you can know your surroundings. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you go into a layer and maybe it's, I don't know, different background color even. I don't know, something simple as a cue.
Yeah. So for right now though, all wrestling entertainment and the modern man. And it'll be fun next week in the middle of the actual LCP commit to see how that changes, right?
Yeah, because now you're gonna see now there's gonna be like people taking lore out to move it down into the winning slot or up and that kind of thing.
Yep. That's the intent. It's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, if that gets really crazy, we might even find ourselves putting a little friction in there, which could generate revenue for the DAO too. Like, I don't know. I always have to assume to the extreme that people are going to make it do something ridiculous. So I'm just imagining like transactions, because how many transactions that's going to be is like trying to game it all at the end of maybe that's enough. Generates a lot of transactions. That's cool.
Yeah. And one more update. I'll go back to this. I don't know if it's in the agenda anyway, but one more update on what's going on is that right now the team, so we released all the chat functionality for layers. The team broke from that to work on the Sticky DAO integration, to make sure that everything's solid for April 15. And they do have some parallel development though on things like the posts and replies showing up in the layer chat. We've done some initial work on talking about the DMs and group chats. And as it develops, I think it's more likely that we are going to say, if you are following someone, they can DM you or add you to a group straight away. But if you are not following them, then they will have to propose, and maybe you can even in your configuration say, I don't want a DM unless they commit so much, and I think it's lore, right? So much lore. Then the person could say, oh, and maybe it would allow lore or lore or matter. But either way, then someone could then say, hey, I'll give you, 20 matter, to accept this. And then at the very end of the discussion, or at any point in the discussion, you could say, okay, this is a worthy conversation, refund them their matter. And, it's all good, right?
That would be cool, because then like I imagine just extrapolating that out, like a sort of a reputation system based on like how likely the person is to give you some of your money back after the conversation, and like, do you really want to talk? How much do you really want to put up, to talk to this person, because they always just take it anyway.
Yeah.
You can do all kinds of fun stuff like that, but that would be useful too, because that's something somebody here was selling. Basically, was access to individuals. Which is like the antithesis of what we're trying to do. Is we're trying to, like, if there needs to be a gateway because you can't, or a gatekeeper, because you can't handle the influx of all the people that want to talk to you because you're a popular person or whatever, then it would be really cool if you could just monetize that for somebody and say, hey, if somebody's really serious about it, they'll pay you for your time, and you can do it through this interface. That would be cool. That would be powerful, actually. Especially like if I wanted to reach out to somebody in Sticky DAO or something, but I don't have a working relationship with them, but I'm interested in maybe collaborating, but I can't break through. There's a hype cycle right now, and everybody's paying attention to this one drop and not me. So, hey, no, really, can I get a message through? That would be
yeah. I like in Twitter, half the time, someone will ask a question and you DM them and they never respond. I mean, you give them the actual answer, and even talking technical stuff. I've had this happen before, and like, they apparently don't really want to know the answer. So it's just this weird thing.
That's another thing too, is not to go back to that conversation, but there is also a lot of times where, especially in Telegram, where just any answer is not going to be like, there's still going to be, yeah, okay, but let me repeat my question again.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It's like, this is the answer from the company. Sorry.
Yeah.
But not to go back into that.
No, it's cool. It's good. It's not that loud.
You hear the monkeys? Okay.
A little bit. Are they monkeys?
Okay. I can only imagine. I don't know what else it is. Sounds like a demonic squirrel. I don't know.
Probably it.
Miami, man. I don't know what kind of research genetics projects they got over here. Anyway.
Cool. So that's it. I mean, we have the
That's all I can think of that we've been working on. Yeah. I mean, we've been working on a lot, but that's the stuff that's been updated this week.
Yeah.
At least it's been directly worked on, because I've seen I think I've seen one example of what the posts inline in chat would conceptually look like, kind of in the dev environment, and it looks it looks usable already. So some extra polish is going to be great.
Yep. If we don't have it out next week, maybe we can show that even. I didn't even think to have that set up or anything. So, and I've only seen a screenshot myself. So
that's all right. I think when it comes out, it'll, like, the impression when it comes out is going to be really good.
Yeah.
Because I showed you how I showed you how I'm going to roll with it. It's just like, literally, like, I'm going to have a few tabs open so I can monitor. I need to get back into, a more active role on some, like, the music layer kind of thing, where if I just monitor chat, I'll see the posts come in as they come in.
Yep.
And that's going to be perfect for any layer owner who wants to just monitor the activity of the heartbeat of the layer. Because now you can see anything that's in chat in your layer, in your community, and you can see any post when it happens. So you get this vibe of, like, and then you kind of start to feel like this time of day is more active than that time of day, and that kind of thing.
Yes.
So that'll be cool. You'll naturally kind of just get that, that sort of input without the next step, which is like all the leaderboards and stuff like that, which show you activity, time of day, stuff like that. We talked about. This will allow you to get some inputs on that already.
Yeah. So you probably can't read the screen. You want me to go through all the
reminders? Yeah, I can do that. I can read it.
Oh, okay.
So, so submit your questions next week to all the shows that we have on Den. We've got World Blockchain Roundtable, Super Happy Dragon Lucky, and Coffee with Den. those all reward in some fashion for input and for feedback and stuff. I give out matter to people. I need to go and actually tip out people from yesterday. Reminder to myself.
Cool.
But I always go through and tip out at least 1 or 2 matter for like, okay, thanks for the input. Gives us something to talk about during the show, that kind of thing. And then on Blockchain Roundtable, we actually get to be part of that show's DAO essentially by participating and providing questions and picking topics and things like that. So do participate into that. Did I skip any of the shows? Of course, this one is a meeting, a call on Thursdays that we have at this time.
Yep.
And yeah, so that's what's going on in Den, Tuesday through Thursday, live shows.
Right on.
Okay. Every day.
Okay, and maybe we can talk about. We might be ready to talk about layer pricing in the next couple of weeks too. On the business
that'll be
side,
good.
DAOs and stuff.
I think by then, that'll be, because we'll at least by then we'll have, I think maybe even 2 different DAOs will have formally been given that pricing, probably.
Yeah.
At least one anyway. And so then we can talk about it here, sort of, lay it out, get ideas, and this can be like now a tiered turnkey offering for any DAO that wants to come into Den and use these tools. I talked to a guy that's building an interesting social network 2 days ago, the first day that I got here, and he's building, it's different than Den in a way that I think is interesting for what I'm doing in Gainesville, and we've talked about a little bit of collaboration. He likes our governance tools. He likes our UI. That really kind of resonated with where he was like, I guess he understood, like, just getting more participation by making it easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so being able to integrate outside tokens into, and even use that in parallel, like Sticky DAO was doing. They still have their Discord in parallel and all of that systems, but to then use this system for that, I think that's a really good good thing.
Yeah, that's great.
So cool.
Right.
That's it. The last thing I'll say is, yep, I got nothing.
Very good. No, do you have the ability to play out whatever we're supposed to play out? I can do that.
No, that's going to be on you. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm mobile.
I
don't have all the tools and everything, so that'll be you.
No.
So I'm going to go back and catch. I'm going to catch a talk, the end of a talk, I guess, on really interesting team that I just met earlier. They are making. They are enabling atomic swaps between ERC tokens like our Matter and Lore with Monero, with XMR, directly with XMR. So that's really exciting because we can literally, of course, my brain went straight to, oh shit, what if you could do that right in Den? That kind of thing.
That'd be awesome.
I think you could, yeah. Like conceptually, technically, yeah. And we traded contact, and they need a little bit of help from a Monero miner. I know we have a mining DAO that we're talking about too with Crypto Curious and some others. And so they need help from a Monero miner because they need a faucet for their testnet to continue development. And so it's interesting. Yeah. So I'll talk to them more. I'm going to go catch the last part of her talk over at Monerotopia.
Okay.
So everybody go research privacy coins. It's good for your help.
And then we might even talk to Crypto Curious to see if we'd want to talk about that mining layer here in the next week or two.
Yeah, well, maybe
next week.
Yep, I was out with him last night here in Miami. He's down here too, so he's
awesome.
Really, really good people. Really great to meet like denizens and Dragon Chain fam and stuff like that, because I know all of you from this interface, from the screen in front of me. So I met up with them yesterday, and we ended up hanging out. Friend of mine, Jason Matthews and Aaron Glelkis, have a band called Twin in Miami. You also check them out. I'll get them on Den eventually. But we met up with them and spent some quality time. And
nice.
Yeah. So
very good.
Building relationships, man. Talking to people.
Right on. Good stuff. Okay. All right. See you guys.
Everybody, have a good weekend.
Next time. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best. Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible. But that conclusion is laughable, so with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.